She is a best-selling author, that you need to know, because we do like somebody with a book. So when we leave, we've got something to read, so we know exactly how to keep stalking them, following them, I mean. She has built a £9 million business, and whilst bringing up 2 young children. Now that is a feat of nature, if I must say so myself. She is currently the CEO of Goal 17. Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding and put your hands together for Fran Boorman.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. Ooh, okay, I was dropping everything. Thank you very much. Well, we're talking about burnout. End of the day. Is anyone burnt out yet? Okay, good, because if you are, we're going to unburn you out over the next 30 minutes, because I know it's been a long day, lots and lots of attention, so well done to all of you for sticking it out and still being here at nearly 4 o'clock on a Friday. It's like beer o'clock, right? Okay, I promise I'm going to make it more fun than beer o'clock. Is that okay? And then if you like it, shall we all go for a beer together after? Okay, cool, good. Is that a deal? A deal? Yes. Right, okay, so we're going to start off, and I want to take you back. I want you to think, what were you worried about on the 31st of December, 1999? Now, if you were like me, 17 years old, you're probably worried about who you were going to kiss later that evening. But what is that, sir?
Y2K.
Y2K, Millennium Bug. Let's see if this works. Oh, yeah. We were petrified, weren't we? What's going to happen? Are the computers going to work out how to go from 1999 to 2000? And if they didn't, our bank accounts were going to empty. The traffic lights were going to flash. The world was going to come to an end. Now, effectively, we were worried about whether the computers were going to be able to keep up with humanity. What are we worried about today? It's the other way around, isn't it? Is humanity going to be able to keep up with the computers? The robots are going to take our jobs. The driverless cars are going to take us to the wrong destination. We will not know what our teenagers look like because we only ever see the tops of their heads. We were petrified, weren't we? But it's now changed, and we've got all this craziness going on in society, in the economy. Don't even get me started on politics. There's loads of crazy stuff going on over here, and we're over here trying to run a small business. We're just trying to do it. We started with these big hopes and dreams, didn't we? Of this amazing lifestyle we were going to create, all the awesome things we were going to do. And now, let's be frank, most of us just want to pay our bills. The statistics on small businesses in the UK are quite shocking. 1/3 of small business owners are taking home less than £1,000 a year. £10,000 a year, don't worry, sorry, 10 times. Well, it's not that bad. It's bad, but it's not that bad. Less than 10,000 a year. Only 1/5 are taking home more than the national average salary. About 25, 27,000, somewhere around there. So it's not great, right? But it's a constant battle being a small business owner. It's been quite depressing today at points, hasn't it? I promise this is going to get better, don't worry. But you know, it's really hard. With so much we've got to do. It's such a noisy marketplace. We've got to tweet, we've got to blog, we've got a Facebook Live, we've got all these things that we've got to do. And occasionally, we actually manage to get away from our computer screens and go and meet other real people. We go to networking events, don't we? We turn up, we're all excited. We go and meet the first person, we shake their hand, and we say, what do you do? And it turns out they do exactly the same as us. Except they sound more qualified. And we're going, oh my God, what am I going to do? So it's this constant battle. And we get to the end of the day, and many of us go home and go, shall we just go and get a job? And then, to add insult to injury, we'll read the newspaper on the train home, and we'll read about some spotty teenager with one of those stupid flat caps and the shoelaces they don't know how to tie properly. You know the ones, right? And they've gone and created a tiny little bit of code that has disrupted a whole market, and they've made billions. And we are just exhausted. And we look at that teenager and we go, well, what does he know? I mean, he's not even gone through puberty. What does he know? He seems to be playing by a different set of rules, though, doesn't he? A different system. And what if we could understand what he understood? And what if we could use that to develop our own businesses? Now, I've missed a few slides, but you'll get the point here. Well, I want to help you today understand those new rules. I want to bring some clarity to you about what's actually going on in the world. And then I want to give you 3 kind of golden rules, or 3 kind of truths about your customers, whatever industry you're in, whatever market you're in. 3 very, very simple truths about your customers. And then finally, we're going to look at actually how you can pull that all together. And I want you to leave here today with some real excitement. And I'll tell you why. Because you guys may not realise, but every single one of you is freaking awesome. Yeah? Yeah? Do you agree with me? Yeah. And do you know why you're awesome? Some of you are not sure. Some of you are sure. Some of you are a bit too sure, to be fair. But some of you are not sure. The reason you're amazing is you've chosen to be an entrepreneur. And more to the point, you've chosen to thrive, and that's why you're here today. And that tells me something very important about you, and we're going to go into that a little bit later. But firstly, I may also tell you that I'm not just talking theory here. I'm not just some crazy lady that comes up and stands and speaks at events. What I'm going to share with you today is real life. I am a business owner, a small business owner like all of you. And what I'm going to tell you is what I do in my life and how I build businesses. So it was a lovely introduction. It was mentioned that I have a company called Goal 17. Now, who heard about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals earlier? Can anyone guess which goal is mine? It's so much my goal, I named my company after it. So Goal 17. But what Goal 17 does is we run corporate events. And we use football to help people become better mentors. Now, I only set this company up a couple of months ago with my co-founder. And in the first 8 weeks of running that business, we did partnership agreements with 10 Premier League football clubs. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever tried to get into a Premier League football club. I hadn't before, in all fairness, but I'm told that's not easy. And we did 10 in 8 weeks. We also managed to bring on some amazing advisors. We've actually now got a gentleman who's investment partner with former Vice President of America, Al Gore. We've got some of the top city CEOs supporting us. And we've managed to get CEOs of some of the biggest companies in the UK, not only to support us, but to open up their client books and give us all their best contacts. Only yesterday I was sitting with a guy who said, just tell me the name of which company you want and I'll put you in contact with their CEO. Would anyone like to know how to do that? Yeah. So shall I let you into the secret? Because it's not really a secret. I'd love to tell you. So I'm going to share with you how you can do that and why every single one of you can do that and why we need you to do that. Because fundamentally what's really important here is we actually do need all of you to do this. Because let's be fair, there's quite a few challenges in the world, right? And we need to solve those problems. You've heard that today, and that's what we need to do. So first of all, let's deal with the rules that teenager knew that we didn't. So let's look at that first. And to help explain this, I use a very simple model called the logic shift model. And I want to explain to you what's changed. Who knows what's changed in recent years? What's been the big driver of change? Anybody know? Technology, perfect. Oh, you're so well trained, fantastic. Yeah, technology. Technology has changed. But how has it changed us? We all know it's technology. We all point the finger at technology. But what's technology actually done? Well, I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I reckon it's changed 2 very simple things. It's shifted the way we distribute power, and it's changed our perspective. So we're going to talk about the old world quickly. Now, when I say old world, that could be like 10 years ago, right? Because things move so fast. So in the old world, we very much had power that was organisational. The large organisations pretty much dealt with everything. Companies, governments, they were in charge of everything. Roll on to the new world, and it's very much local power. Sorry, local individual power. We now have these amazing little devices in our hands that give us the same tools to learn, to trade, to compete with many of these large organisations that used to control us. So what about perspective? Well, we used to have local perspective. We knew what was going on in our communities, we connected with people local, it was all very, very safe and secure and local. Now, we very much have global perspective. You've heard this already today. If you're an accountant, you're not just competing against other accountants in your local economy, you're competing against somebody on the other side of the world. But also the way we see the world is very global. If you want to buy something, you can buy it from anyone in the world. If you want to learn something, you can learn it from any university in the world through an app. Everything's become very global. Now, the best way to really frame this is to look at one of the extremities of humanity, and that's war. And if we look at how wars changed, I'm looking at a war hero down here, which is quite nice. I've got a nice war hero. Can I call you that, Sam? No. I'm going to embarrass him now. If you look at war and how that's changed over the years, that's made a massive difference. So we used to, if we wanted to start a war in the old LO world of local organisational, if you wanted to start a war, you had to do that under the organisation of an army. You physically had to bring people together and you fought over the land that you stood on. Now, in this new GI world, completely different, right? Any one person can take a global perspective. They can glean the knowledge online, how to build a suicide bomb. And that one person can have an impact on the whole globe. That's the shift that we're feeling. All technology's done is enable that shift. So we've got to start playing by new rules because of this. And we've got to start learning how to play by those rules. Now, what this fundamentally comes down to in terms of this shift from LO to GI is that we've got a real conflict here between two key things, between convenience and connection. You see, we're being drawn up to the new world, the new GI world, where there's immense amount of opportunity. And actually, we should all be thriving there. But let's be honest, the change has been so fast, it's happened so quickly, most of us don't feel safe or comfortable in the new GI world. We want to be back in our small little local communities and understanding the world that we, the world that we knew. So we're being drawn up to this new world by convenience and it's easier, but we want to be back down in the old LO world where we felt safe. And in this constant battle, we find that we don't really know where to go. Now, it's not our fault. We should not be blaming ourselves. Do you know who we should be blaming? Biology. Who hated their biology teacher at school? Anyone? Just me. Wasn't very good at school. So. But it's all to do with our biology. If we look at the science of how our brains work, it explains why we've got this problem. Now, we are inherently lazy. Now, you can't use this as an excuse, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want you going home and going, I'm not going to build my business because I am scientifically lazy. But it's proof that our bodies and brains will naturally find the most easiest and convenient route to do anything. Scientists believe it is probably because we were designed to conserve our energy for the next hunt or maybe the onslaught of an unexpected fight for survival. We are designed to be lazy. But we were also designed to connect. We have the largest brains relative to the size of our body compared to any other species. And a specifically large part of our brains is the neocortex, which is the front part of the brain. Now, back in the 1980s, a very interesting scientist called Dunbar did some really interesting piece of research, and he found a striking resemblance between the size of a species' brain and the size of group that they were supposed to reside in. Now, for the size of our brain, the average number of people that we're supposed to connect with is only 150. So it won't surprise you that the average number of wedding guests, 150. Companies and squadrons of the world's armies generally comprise of 150 soldiers. And even in this amazing new world with all this technology to connect us to millions of people, the median number of Facebook friends globally is just 200. You see, we could connect and be around everyone else, but we actually just want to be in this small little LO world, in this little local connected community. So that's how we feel, right? Guess how our customers feel? Exactly the same. So they want to have the opportunity and the convenience of the GI world, but they want to feel like they're safe and connected. So this is the first piece of the puzzle. Now for the next piece of the puzzle, I'm going to take you back even further than 1999 for everyone, and unless somebody says, well, hopefully for everyone. I'm going to take you back to your childhood. See if you enjoy this. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I might climb thy golden stair, and when I've reached thy lofty bower, held high from earth by chanted tower, allow me but to stand within the sanctum where no word has been, carved out from fear and glazed with doubt, wove with brittle shards of spite throughout. Who remembers Rapunzel? Yeah? Her story fascinated me, right? I've got a little picture of Rapunzel up here. Amazing story. She was a beautiful, intelligent woman. She lived in a stunning home. It had fantastic views. According to the legend, she was well nourished and had plenty of crafts and hobbies to occupy her time. She was well educated, she had books. I mean, seriously, why did she want to get out? Was she some kind of little spoilt princess? But she wanted to escape, didn't she? And the legend tells of how she sat at her stone opening and looked out. And in the distance, she saw lights and activity. And she wanted to be part of that life and a part of that activity. How similar is that to our customers today? Now, they're not in glass towers, even stone towers. They're not in any kind of tower. They're connected to each other. But boy, are they lonely. And they don't have a stone opening in their window. Instead, they have a screen. And they're all isolated in their own little worlds with their own little screens. And I say they, us too, right? A lot of us. We're more connected than we've ever been, yet we're more lonely. So that's the first rule that we need to understand. I said there were three. The first one is that our customers, the first truth is they're connected, but generally they're lonely. So quite a sweeping statement, but I think it's pretty reflective. The other interesting thing about Rapunzel, she was an intelligent girl, right? So tell me, why did she never lift a few floorboards and try and find a way out of that tower? I mean, even the basic and most basic understandings of engineering, you would have known that a tower that tall, there's got to be some struts going across the middle, right? And if she could have held a whole man, fully grown man up on her hair, she didn't think about sort of lowering her light, petite self down. Of course she didn't. Because she wanted to be rescued by a dashing young prince. I mean, let's be fair, don't we all? I do, but that's a whole other story. But she wanted to be rescued, right? Again, isn't that like our customers? They could put their phones down and connect with the people around them. I do this on the train. People find it really freaky. I put my phone down and I look and I smile at people. And they look at me and go, oh my God, it's the crazy lady. But they could, couldn't they? But they're waiting to be rescued. So that's second truth. First truth is they're connected but lonely. Second truth, they're waiting to be rescued. Who do you think they're waiting to rescue them? Us would be great. I mean, let's be honest, for Rapunzel, I know she wanted that prince, but I'm pretty sure if anyone else had come along, she would have kind of hitched a ride out of there, right? But she wanted that prince. But but actually if they're looking for somebody to rescue them. And so that's the second thing that's really, really important for us to understand about Rapunzel. Well, not about Rapunzel, about our customers. Now, we've heard today a lot about baby boomers, Gen Y, Gen Z. So I think we've established, right, baby boomers, they had a good time, didn't they? Who's a baby boomer in here? Okay, there's a few of you. You don't look old enough to be baby boomers. Oh, you moisturise, there you go. Get tips later. So baby boomers. Now, although my parents deny it, we know it was all drugs, sex and rock and roll.
It was a good time.
They had a great time, didn't they?
Our brain capacity is not as good as yours.
And now, of course, we've got the Gen Ys, Gen Z, millennials, the younger generations. So just by way of show of hands, who do you think, and this is a bit of an obvious question really, but who grew up in a safer environment? If you think it was a baby boomer, raise your hand. If you think it was the safer environment was the Gen Ys, Gen Zs, I guess I think, but lots of people are not quite sure, and I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you now, so that's fair enough. Most people agree with the room that the baby boomers had lived in a safer world. So I'm going to share with you some interesting statistics. There's an amazing scientist called Dr. Mark Rosa. He's based out of Oxford University, and he does some research. It's called, his whole thing is called The World in Numbers. And he takes any preconception and he sticks data on it. And most of the time kind of proves you wrong or just provides kind of mind-blowing stuff. And back in 2007, he thought he'd do some research into this. Is the world a safe place? Well, interestingly enough, around the time of the baby boomers, we're talking post-World War here, so it's not World War time, but after that time that baby boomers were coming to life, there were 500,000 deaths a year. Rock on to 2007, the time that the millennials and the other younger generations were coming around, 22,139. 500,000, 22,000. So actually, the baby boomers, they had a really unsafe world compared to what we've got now. So that's just...
Saturday night.
Not on a Saturday night. Fair enough, we'll come to that story later. That's obviously from, those are war deaths. In terms of natural disasters, there have actually been more natural disasters in recent years, but the death rates are significantly lower. It's because we're better prepared and all sorts of reasons. So what there has been, everyone assumes that they had everything was perfect and now it's really bad, right? But that's just a perception. And of course, that's a perception that comes from technology. Because back when the baby boomers were younger, they received their news through very carefully edited news reports. News reports that had to be shown before the watershed. And that was kind of how they heard out about the world. Now, we're not going to get into a debate about good news, bad news, but for whatever reason, as humans, we seem to focus on the bad news. There are all these wonderful good news stations that come up, and they never seem to take off. So something about us seems to like this bad news. So roll on to what's happening today, and people are looking in their hands at the news. They get it, again, fed to them. It's not just once an evening at 10 o'clock, or it used to be 9 o'clock, didn't it? But it's not just then, it's fed to them. And not only that, it now comes in the most intimate detail. You don't just watch your news from a carefully edited report. You might get to see a live stream of a young girl in a war zone fighting for her life. And you get that raw emotion. And it's in your hand. So truth number 3 about our customers is that what they're seeing is kind of the ugliest parts of the world. And what's happening is that's making them feel really uncomfortable. So they're lonely in their own tower, they're waiting to be rescued, and what they're seeing, they're not liking, and they're wanting to change it. And again, that might be where you guys are going to prove really, really, really helpful. So, often feels like this in business, right? We're shouting out to our customers, trying to get their attention. But it's hard. But maybe the messages we're shouting are the wrong ones. Because if we're shouting about what we do, they've got loads of other people shouting about that. And what will probably happen is they'll go to Google, they'll do a search, they'll find somebody doing a lower price, and they're off. And there's no real emotional connection behind that decision. However, if we start helping them address and engage in the world that they're seeing and make a difference, then all of a sudden they engage with us. So I said I'd tell you how we got into those football clubs and how we've done what we've done so quickly. What I didn't tell you at the beginning is the way that we're using football and mentoring is to end youth homelessness. That's how I've got CEOs, oh, thank you, it's very kind of you, but that's how I've got CEOs to open their little black books. Because when I go and talk to them, I say, we've got this great, we can take you to a Premier League club. That usually gets them a bit excited, in all fairness. We can take you to a football club, and then we're going to fuse you with some homeless young people and your staff getting together, and we'll all work together, and everybody will get a nice transformation. And that's how we've done it. So you heard earlier today about picking a global goal and how having a purpose in your business is so important. Now, there's this thing about social enterprise. In fact, last night I was at this Social Enterprise UK AGM, thrilling. And there is this perception of social enterprise being like tree hugging, right? To be fair. And actually it felt a little bit like that last night. This is being recorded, so I should be a little bit careful about what I say. But my belief is that this is not social enterprise. This is business. And business for good is good for business. Now, I have dedicated my life and my life's mission to sharing and spreading the word, that's why I'm here today, that business for good is good for business. We need to stop looking at charity and giving money and look at it as investment. Thank you, my lovely. And here's why. Because governments and charities do not have the resource to solve the problems that we have in the world. Now, these are the American statistics, but these are pretty much replicated in all the Western parts of the world. There is not enough resource in non-profits or governments as there is in corporates, in business. And the cool thing about business, you've heard it here today, it's scalable. You can grow business. Very, very, very difficult to grow government and non-profit. But business is scalable. So if we want to address the world's issues, we've got to do it. It's us. It's the people in this room that have got to do it. That's why Dan showed you those UN goals earlier before, because if we left it up to the politicians, I need to make another claim. I've spent all morning this morning with I have to get his title right, the Secretary of State for Business, Energy and Industry Strategy, or something along those lines. And let's be honest, we just bent his ear about Brexit all morning, so that was great fun. But he wants to do the right thing, genuinely. But they've only got so much they can do. The power actually lies with us. Now remember back to that logic shift model. It's not with the organisations anymore. It's with the individuals. It's with us. And the cool thing about this is when we choose to do good with our businesses, it's great for our businesses as well. They grow because those customers that were stuck in their towers now want to engage because they want to do the good as well. They want to be part of it. Who's heard of Tom's Shoes? Anyone heard of Tom's Shoes? That you may or may not know the story of them, but they are, let me tell you, I've got friends that first time they saw a pair of Tom's shoes, they went, ugh, they're a bit ugly, aren't they? And they hated them. And then a few weeks later, they were wearing them. And I'm like, why are you wearing them? He said, but have you heard? Every time you buy a pair of Tom's shoes, they give a pair to a child in South America. So I'm wearing these shoes because now like a kid in South America is wearing them. And what that shoe did was it made them feel connected to that screen that they were looking at. And it showed everyone else that they had those beliefs. So they were suddenly connected. It's like, hey, we've both got Tom's shoes, woohoo. And they'd hug each other, woohoo, we've got Tom's shoes. And it made them feel connected to others. Business for good is good for business. And that's my main message that I want to get across today. And I want to give you some pointers, because if you're looking at this and thinking, well, that's great, but how do I do it? And I know you've had some time this morning to start thinking about picking your global goal. Well, I want to give you a little bit of help to get you on your way. Firstly, think big. And I mean global big. Not just like big, what shall I do tomorrow? Big. You heard this morning again about somebody remind me, not your reptile brain, not your monkey brain. What other brain was it? Your entrepreneur. Of course it was your entrepreneurial brain. Of course it was. You heard about that. So again, let's start connecting that. Start thinking big. I don't stand here saying we just kind of want to help homeless kids. I'm like, we frigging want to end it. My business partner gets really annoyed with me sometimes when I say that. He's watching this live, so I'm probably going to get some grief from this. But we do. We want to end it. I don't ever want to hear of another under 24-year-old sleeping on the streets. It's ridiculous. There's no reason why it should be. So we're going to use business to end it. And that's our goal. And we've set it nice and big. So you need to create a mission. You need to decide what your goal is and then write it down. What is your mission? Then you need to go and do your research. You need to connect and engage with your mission. So for me, I went and sat on the streets with young people in the cold. That really helps you connect. Any morning when I don't feel like working, I just think of that evening, and I still go down and help at a local soup kitchen now, just to keep me connected to it. I did all the research, I understood all the facts, so whatever it is it might be something you've already got close to your heart, or you might find something new. Or, in all fairness, I wasn't even interested in homelessness when I started this. I didn't really know anything about it, and it was my business partner that was, so I kind of, in all fairness, jumped on that bandwagon and went, actually, this is something I could, once I connected to it, I was like, yeah, this is something I really believe in. So you might find it through other methods. Then you need to share it with the world. Then you need to tell people. And the cool thing is, people listen. Because remember, they're in their tower, lonely, wanting to be rescued, seeing that stuff on their screen. And they start screen dropping to you. Oh, have you seen this new article? They want to be part of it. So you start sharing it with the world. And then here's the most important piece. Then you find a creative way for your business to make a difference to that issue. And this goes back again to why you guys are so freaking awesome. Because you wouldn't be here if you were like the rest of the people out there that will happily God, they're amazing people and we need them to follow. But the fact that you're here, you guys have chosen to lead in some capacity. You're choosing to lead your businesses, and therefore why not choose to lead humanity, for want of a better phrase? So what we need you to do is start leading that way. And I know you can do it, because purely the fact that you've made this decision means you've got the disposition to think dynamically. You've got the fire in your belly. Who's got the fire in their belly? Yeah. One person has. Who has got the fire in their belly? Yeah. Okay. So you've got that fire in your belly. If you haven't got it yet, go find a really great cause, and then you'll find it, right? But you've got that fire in your belly to do something different. And did you know you've got a massive competitive advantage? Because you're a small business, you're nimble. If you want to change, if you walk, and I really hope you do, if you walk out this room today and you go, I'm going to friggin' do this, guess what? You can. I was consulting with a FTSE 250 company about 1.5 years ago, and we were talking about engaging some of this stuff in their organisation. And they said, great, we're going to do it. We're going to take our big ship and we're going to steer it in a different direction. But here's the point, it's a big ship. So they said, it'll take us 2 years to change. And I went, great, you haven't got 2 years. Everything would have changed in about 6 months' time. So either do it in 6 months or don't bother. Didn't say don't bother, but that's the point. Whereas you guys, you're in a speedboat, right? You want to change direction, vroom, off you go. So you've got this advantage. So I really want to implore you guys to use that. I want to help you as much as I can. The reason that this is being filmed and broadcast live, hopefully it's working, is because as of today, it's rather exciting. We've launched a new Facebook group, which you can access through project17.global. You can tell, for those of you that didn't pick this up from the Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 17 is partnerships and collaborations to empower change in the other 16 goals. And that's what I'm all about. Let's just bring people together and let's make change. So Project 17 is about that. I was very fortunate to be invited to meet with good old Sheryl Sandberg and the Facebook lot a couple of weeks ago. And they were talking about social media and how businesses need to use it and how actually we need to make the world a better place. And I was like, right, well, sod it. We're not going to all talk about it, well, let's go do it. So the whole point of Project 17 is we're calling it a social experiment. So it's on social media, and the idea is to look at creating positive social impacts with business. So I've made the commitment to gather together 17 different bits of inspiring educational information every single month for at least a year, to share in that community to help people that want to use business for good, being good for business in there. So it's not going to be just about tree hugging, it's going to be about actually how do we make good business from this. So if you want to join, come along and join that. But really what I want to implore to all of you today is you've sat here today, you've heard loads of information. Hopefully you're feeling inspired, you're feeling that bubbling fire getting going. Now you've got two choices. You can leave here today and go, it's a really great day. I met some really nice people, that's great. And go back Monday morning, because it's the weekend now. So go back Monday morning and just carry on as you've always done. Or your other choice is you can leave here today and be kick-ass awesome and take all that you've learnt and put it into action. Realistically, you're not going to put it all in. But even if you put one thing in, wouldn't that be cool? And can I be really selfish? Can you take one thing from me and go and change the frigging world? Would you do that for me, guys?
Yeah.
Would you?
Yes.
Amazing. So, end of the day, I think you should all give yourselves a massive round of applause for doing what you've done today. I'm going to hand back over to Elliot and the organisation team. Oh no, I'm not. I'm handing back over here to say, over to these guys to say thank you for a wonderful day.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Fran Boorman!